Have you ever noticed how sometimes we do things without even thinking, like when you drive home and suddenly realize you don't even remember every turn you made? Or when a certain smell takes you back to your grandmother's kitchen, even though you weren't trying to remember? That's your subconscious mind at work. It's like this hidden part of you, always awake, always recording, shaping the way you see the world, even when you don't realize it. And the Bible knew this truth long before science had words for it. Romans 12 verse 2 says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect." That verse isn't just about thinking better thoughts. It's about rewiring, retraining, reprogramming the deepest part of your mind, the part that drives your habits, your decisions, your fears, your hopes. When Paul wrote those words, he was speaking to ordinary people living in a Roman Empire filled with noise, pressure, and distraction. Kind of like us today. He was saying, don't let the world ride on your mind. Let God rewrite it. I want to tell you a story. A modern story, but also an ancient one. A story about how the mind can hold you captive, but also how the Spirit of God can set you free. There was once a man, I will call him David. Not King David, but a man like many of us today. David grew up believing he wasn't enough. He wasn't told this out loud every day, but little things stacked up. Teachers who said he was slow, family who compared him to others, friends who laughed at his mistakes. Over time, all these little voices sank deep into his subconscious, and without realizing it, he carried them into adulthood. Now, David had dreams. He wanted to start a business. He wanted to be bold in his faith. He wanted to speak up in his church. But whenever he tried, something inside of him whispered, you can't. You'll fail. Who do you think you are? Have you ever had that quiet voice that shows up before you even try? That's the subconscious. It's like soil. Whatever seeds are planted in it, whether weeds or good fruit, they grow. But here's the turning point. David began to discover that God didn't just want him to believe with his head, but to reprogram his heart. He read Romans 12 verse 2 and thought, renewal, what does that mean for me? Renewal meant he didn't have to stay trapped by old voices. Renewal meant he could start planting new seeds. And so he began small. Every morning, he had whisper God's promises before he even opened his phone. I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me. God has not given me a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. At first, it felt awkward, forced, like watering dry ground. But little by little, his subconscious began to catch it. One day, someone asked him to pray out loud at a small gathering. Normally, the old fear would have kicked in. His hands would shake, his voice would stutter. But this time, something different happened. He spoke calmly, clearly, and when he finished, he realized the soil of his mind was changing. This is what Paul was talking about. Not just changing surface thoughts, but transforming the deep engine of who we are. That's what it means to renew the mind. Imagine your subconscious as a movie projector. Whatever film is loaded inside is what plays on the screen of your life. For years, David had been playing the film of failure, but God was offering him a new reel. And Romans 12 verse 2 was the invitation, don't keep playing the old film. Let God load in a script. Now, maybe your story is not like David's. Maybe your subconscious has been loaded with fear of the future, or maybe bitterness. Maybe you tell yourself, this is just who I am. I'll never change. But what if that's not true? What if you've just been watching the wrong film science today? says the subconscious doesn't argue with what you repeat. If you feed it with worry every day, it will accept worry as truth. But if you feed it with God's promises again and again, day after day, it begins to believe those too. And belief reshapes behavior. Behavior reshapes destiny. Think about a child learning to walk. They fall, but no one says, well, walking is not for you. They just keep trying, and slowly, walking becomes natural. Renewing the mind works the same way. At first, it feels unnatural. You slip back into old thoughts. But as you keep going, something shifts. And that's where the Spirit of God comes in. Because we can't rewire our minds alone. We need the presence of God to breathe life into the new seeds we plant. Without Him, we're just trying positive thinking. But with Him, it becomes transformation. There's a moment in the Gospels where Jesus says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. You could also say out of the subconscious, the life flows. If you want to change your life, you have to let God change what's hidden. Picture it this way: your conscious mind is the captain of a ship, but your subconscious is the crew. The captain can shout commands all day, but if the crew has been trained to steer left, the ship will keep turning left unless the crew is retrained. Renewal is God retraining your inner crew so that your life begins to sail in a new direction. David's story is still unfolding. He's not perfect. None of us are. But now, when fear whispers, he has a louder truth to answer back. And over time, his subconscious no longer defaults to failure, it leans toward faith. And maybe that's the story waiting for you too. Because renewing the mind isn't about erasing your past. It's about letting God write a new future on your heart. So tonight, as you listen, let this be more than words. Think of the patterns in your life that keep repeating. Think of the doubts that rise up before you even try. That's the subconscious speaking. Now imagine God leaning close and saying, "Child, let me renew that. Let me transform you. Let me show you what's good, acceptable, and perfect in my will." And when you begin to accept that, slowly, day by day, you will see the power of your subconscious redirected by the Spirit of God. Let me tell you a story. There was a young woman named Rachel. Rachel grew up in a home where no one ever told her she was valuable. Her parents didn't mean to wound her, but they were busy, distracted, carrying their own pain. And so Rachel grew up believing she was invisible. That belief sank deep into her subconscious. Every time she walked into a room, she assumed people weren't interested in her. When someone smiled, she thought it must be out of pity. When she prayed, she wondered if God even noticed. And yet Rachel loved God. She read her Bible. She sang in church. She tried to live faithfully. But there was this quiet, unshakable whisper inside: you don't matter. You don't belong. Until one day, she read Romans 12, verse 2. She read it slowly, as though for the first time. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. It was like a light switched on. Rachel began to realize something: her mind had been shaped by years of lies. Her subconscious had been conformed to a false identity. And God was inviting her not just to think positive, but to let His truth rewire the deepest part of her. So Rachel began an experiment. Every morning, she wrote down one verse about her identity in Christ. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. God has chosen me. Nothing can separate me from His love. And she spoke those verses out loud, even when she didn't feel like it. At first, it felt strange. forced, like pretending. But as the weeks passed, something began to shift. She walked into rooms a little taller. She prayed with a little more boldness. She began to sense, deep down, that she wasn't invisible. She was seen, known, and loved by her Creator. That's what renewing the mind looks like. It's not overnight. It's not magic. It's daily, faithful, intentional planting of new seeds into the soil of your subconscious until God's truth grows stronger than old lies. As we think, we change the physical nature of our brain. As we consciously direct our thinking, we can wire out toxic patterns and replace them with healthy ones. In other words, science is catching up to Scripture. What you think about again and again literally reshapes your brain, which means the words of Romans 12 verse 2 aren't just spiritual poetry. They are reality. The mind can be rewired. The subconscious can be renewed. Now let's pause. Think about your own life. What voices have shaped your subconscious? Maybe it was a teacher who said you'd never amount to anything. Maybe it was a heartbreak that told you love wasn't safe. Maybe it was years of comparison that convinced you you'd never measure up. What if God's invitation is to let Him rewrite those messages, to take the pen out of the world's hand and put it back into His? This is what Moses told Israel in Deuteronomy 30 verse 19 today. I have given you the choice between life and death, between blessings and curses. Oh, that you would choose life so that you and your descendants might live. For years, I thought those words were too simple. Choose life, choose joy, choose peace. It sounded like empty advice. But what if it's actually true? What if, through the Spirit, we really do have the power to choose which seeds we plant in our subconscious fear or faith, doubt or hope, lies or truth? That's the battlefield of the subconscious. And it's not a battle we fight alone. Paul reminds us in 2 Timothy 1 verse 7, God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline. Think about that. Fear doesn't come from God. Intimidation doesn't come from Him. What comes from Him is power, love, self-discipline. And those are exactly the qualities you need to retrain the mind. So if you're listening tonight, maybe you feel like Rachel. Maybe you've been living under a script someone else wrote for you. Maybe your subconscious has been whispering the same old lies for years. But here's the truth. You can change the story. God can change the story. And Romans 12 verse 2 is your invitation.